So hey, what up? It is DTM. I've noticed a lot of people, I'm chilling with Philippe, by the way. We're gonna get hot, you can tell, huh? Yeah. Anyway, we'll try to be quick, but there was something I wanted to talk about, and I can't talk about it. I'm not allowed to, of course, which there is an indication that it's something that needs to be discussed, but we'll have to do so on the DL, which means on the down low. But it's the C word, you know what I'm saying? And now, there's a few different C words right now, but a lot of people are having this problem that we've had in society. I don't even like to say the word, but it's when people get sick and then they got to go in for chemotherapy and radiation. And so that's what's taking off quite a bit. And then you can't talk about that, interestingly enough. So, you know, I can do the vegetables, and I can do the, you know, the recipes, and I can do a few different things, but then there's several topics that are 100% off limits. The ones that they really want to protect from getting any information out into the world, and then they call that misinformation. But let's say what triggered me was Toby Keith passing away at like 62 or 63. I'm not a huge country music fan. Let's get a little action here, so that way we don't die. I'll tell the story some other day about the goddamn air conditioner, and it ruins the sound, and then you can't hear me. But Toby Keith just passed away from stomach cancer at 63, and you know, I mean, we should be. This is no disrespect to him or anything. I didn't know him that well. I'm not a huge country music person, but just it triggered this whole thing in my mind where it's like, it really sucks, you know, that we don't have more information, more knowledge. It's amazing that it's 2024 and we're not allowed to have the conversation, one, and number two, these things aren't that difficult. Now, me being a lay person with absolutely no pieces of paper or no numbers by my name, just 30 years of hardcore personal research, development and practice, and then working with, you know, however you want to look at it, connecting with probably millions of people over the last 15 years on social media, and then probably helping many thousands or tens of thousands to change their health in a better way, and then working directly with people via consulting in the thousands, and then one-on-one helping people directly, like family members and stuff like that, to keep their organs and glands. So, you know, in our society, sometimes we emphasize the piece of paper or the, you know, yeah, and it's like, it doesn't mean anything, especially anymore if you're aware of what's going on in the colleges, if you're aware of what's going on in public education in general. Now, the average person with the average mindset about public education, college, the guy in the white lab coat being the be-all, end-all of the guy who understands the physical organism. Of course, once you get it, you realize they have no training in any kind of regenerative medicine at all, and that's what it should be. But it's a regenerative process, and when I talk about life regeneration in you know, in the context of healing yourself of that thing that happens before that you get diagnosed with, than before you do the chemotherapy and radiation. But some people choose to go a more natural route. I can't mention it too much, but there was the Hoxie, which was an herbal formula. There was the Essiac, which was another herbal formula. Then there was the Gerson, which was a type of therapy. And then all of the other hundreds of, or thousands really, of healers and writers, some with better results than others. And we know that fasting was always extremely beneficial, as well as diet. And then, you know, a lot of people start at that place, and then as they go deeper on their healing journey, they understand the importance of emotions and processing those. and also getting your mind state into a right place, because whether it's conscious or unconscious, your thoughts are emanating out into the world and creating your perception of reality, and then magnetizing those things into your life. And then also with the heart, the more love you put out, the more love you're going to get back. And most of us are somewhere right in the middle. You know, we're like, we think our husband's kind of a dick, but at least we love our kitty cat. You know what I mean? Most of us are kind of straddling the line. Very few of us ever get into a state of consciousness that allows us to understand absolute unconditional love. And when I make those posts on social media and whatnot, it's very difficult for people to understand God is only the white, angelic, good person, but not all the other doo-doo either. And without wanting to get some kind of war going down in the comments, because it's hard for people to understand non-duality, basically the really gentle way to say it without triggering anyone's hatred towards subsets in society of people that do bad things, is to say that God loves the rogue as well, or the rogue is a good word for it, so that you don't trigger anybody. But the bad person, their core is God also, but it just might be more covered over, or they don't have blood flow to certain areas in the brain, and that's why you call them reptilian, because the blood flow doesn't come into the frontal lobe or some of the other higher centers in the brain, and it just gets stuck in the rear brain, where it's like, the more you have, the less I have, so I'm going to eat you and your children. And that's the reptilian kind of like, even if the reptiles have plenty of food everywhere, they still kill each other because they're so used to going through phases of not having enough. So even if a reptile in our modern society has a $1 trillion investment firm, or they themselves are like a billionaire, they're still thinking it's not enough, they need more control. It's fear-based. And that segues back into the topic of today's discussion, of which the word that I can't use, but it does rhyme with ecstatic dancer, okay? So, right? I mean, you can't, because you can't. There's certain things that you can't do on here, but you want to reach out to people because, well, just the nature of the way that I have to speak should tell you something. Like, why are they trying to hide some skinny guy who has maybe some ideas that work for the regenerative medicine or the concepts in regeneration, because he studied it for 30 years, because he had to do it on himself because of where he started with his life, which I won't go into my life story, but started out on the lower level and then just stayed at the lower level, and then you get pounded from all sides with these synthetic substances, mostly in the form of whatever. Another thing too that can't be mentioned, but the synthetics, the isolates, and also the genetics of this father, so the seed stock, and then you've got the soil, or the mother, or the womb in which that seed stock is planted. And I think if I had to say which one's more important, I would lean more on the side of the woman, because you can have like some funky seed stock, but the woman can do a really good job at keeping the garden of the womb a healthy thing, meaning her thoughts, her emotions, her diet, her environment, and then there can be a decent progeny created. Ideally, you would have the NFL star quarterback at about 38, and then the woman would be like, a beauty model between the ages of like 25 or 32. Don't trip. I'm just saying that after a while we get exposed to all these chemicals and things happen that sort of degrades the DNA. It doesn't have to, but it happens to all of us because of the society that we're living in and all the things that we're exposed to. That being said, even when we've been exposed to so many of these negative influences, that's where the regenerative medicine comes in. For the people that where it would be cool if like Toby Keith could have been introduced, because usually, and I don't mean to disrespect his family or him or anybody else, because there's a lot more to it than just, oh, he ate wrong. There's a lot more to it than that. But what I'm saying is that I want to be a guy who increases someone's potential. Maybe one or two people out there, the rest of you are like DTM fans and you're like, oh, this is DTM, you're so cool or whatever. But then there's other people that are like, oh, I have lymphoma. I have a stomach thing. I have a thyroid thing, meaning like the thing that I'm talking about that rhymes with dancer, where you get the diagnosis before you take the chemotherapy and the radiation. So you're very clear on what I'm talking about. And there's many different types, but it's all a manifestation of degeneration. Now, I'm not saying that you're a bad person or that you did something wrong, but what I'm saying is everyone has the opportunity to see what they can do more right in their life. And there are certain conditions, and there's karma and other things too, but you know, if you can, there are things that you can do to enhance the possibility of you know, regeneration from any negative health standpoint. Now, your 87-year-old grandma who's been on pharmaceutical drugs for the last 37 years and is in a wheelchair, you may not get her on a raw food diet, fasting, body work, herbs, and sound frequency and light therapy, and get her to hop up out of the chair and start climbing Mount Everest. I mean, it's possible, though. We have to admit to ourselves that that's a possibility. Because when you look at the conditions that we have in our treatment centers, in the mainstream and modern allopathic centers, where they have they have it on lockdown as far as the financial, as well as the informational, as well as the educational aspects, where you have to be a layman, you have to be a little crazy, you have to be willing to think for yourself, read as much as you can, practice on yourself, work with other people to see if there are things that you can learn and do which will enhance the potential for regeneration to take place within the whole organism as a whole, which is, you know, they have the isolation of different glands, organs, and specialists that specialize in one thing only. But if you're trying to heal and regenerate, you need to look at the being, really, not just the organism, because that's where we would go if we were in a linear sort of educational, intellectual. We would think, okay, the organism itself, the manifestation of the flesh body, but that would be extremely limited, because then we wouldn't be looking at the energy body, which the energy body is really actually more important than the physical body, because the energy body manifests itself into the physical body. So we can do a lot of things, and we attack the problem with these isolated synthetics and whatnot that are actually pretty toxic. So they definitely make you worse. The pharmaceutical drugs, I'm not saying, and that's one thing you can't even talk about either, so I'll edit that out. But you know, when you research that and study that, the side effects of those are a lot of times worse than what the thing is that you're trying to eliminate. So once you get the idea of regenerative medicine, if you'll call it that, or just a regenerative lifestyle, and you have to really want it. I mean, for me, if it wasn't for what I call God, there would be no desire for regeneration. There would just be like, hey, let's get some weed, let's get a girlfriend, let's go party, let's eat pizza, and just blow it away and let it go. But you become too conscious for that, and you see that your potential's being wasted or what your potential is as far as like spiritually goes, energetically goes, or the legacy that you could leave behind, which I'm not a huge legacy person at all. It's like I think I've already done what I wanted to do, but actually, like I was telling Philippe, I mean, I'm just barely getting started. And I say that sometimes too, but I mean, it's honestly the truth. Like, I'm just finally beginning to get started after 23 years of living foods, practicing that, and then 30 years of juicing, and then health. And I started lifting weights when my girlfriend broke up with me. That's kind of what started. I was kind of like, oh, meth and weed and alcohol. I was a drummer and working in a cedar mill, pulling green chain and that kind of thing, you know. And and then she broke up with me, and then I was like, I had to do something with all that testosterone. So I started going to the gym, and I tried to get my life together. It didn't really go, but at least I give myself, a B for effort. I was trying to work out, but I was still having trouble with all kinds of drugs and alcohol and stuff. And that took me a couple more years, and then it was just really this process of going in and out, of getting sober, and then getting ran over by a bus, and then I broke my hand, and then I was sober for a long time, doing pretty good in life. And then the doctor gave me the Vicodin, and then I got strung out on that again. And then of course you go back to weed and alcohol and everything else. So there was, in and out. There's still people, I'm not going to say who, but there's still people talking, SHIT on the internet about me, but that's okay. I ain't really tripping, man, because I have had a hell of a run, and I have not been a saint. But what I'm very interested in is just bringing up the point that there are many, 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 many things you can do. And I learned this through my own experience, through raw foods, juicing, fasting, meditation, semen retention. And I'm not even hitting on all of it. I do frequency healing on myself all the time. Isolation, solitude, nature, microbial, inoculation, basically meaning go out into nature. You know what I mean? Like, we're all in the cities and wondering why we're dying of all these diseases and stuff, because the concrete is everywhere. There's no fresh air. Of course, the crap's in the sky, the crap's in the water, the crap is in the food, and you have to be very smart. And that's why, we should be living to be, like 85, chilling, you know what I'm saying? Or 120, chilling, that's like our genetic potential at this time in our evolution as human beings. Not that longevity is that big of a deal, but if you can live a lifestyle and make it fun to get on the path of regeneration, then you should do that, or do what little that you can. I don't know if I'm inspiring or not, but I really do believe in it. Like I said, I'm just getting started. It took me a long time to get the hormones under control, to get my mind under control when it came to women. It's taken me a long time to get control of the food. It took me, a long time to get control of the drugs, the depression, but all that, again, I was pretty depressed because all the drugs and the bad food, and it makes you depressed, and then inflammation from all the stuff I went through in the childhood with things that I'm still totally 100% against. We're going to burn up here if we don't get it, but if we go slower like we're doing now, then it's not as loud. Anyways, I'm just ripping through because the Toby Keith thing that kind of triggered me, and I just wanted to say that, in that case, you would have wanted to clean the stomach out. You would want to eat real food as much as you can, and people are like, oh, this is broccoli and this is broccoli, but you grew this broccoli in your backyard in good soil, and there wasn't any sprays. But then this is the biggest example of all of it, where you've got the dudes out there working in the fields, and they've got a hazmat suit on to spray the chemicals for the weed, and then you've got the genetically modified seeds so that those plants can survive in that glyphosate soil, but the microbial activity, the mineral density is extremely diminished on those foods. And then a lot of the grains, the beans, the lentils especially are sprayed as a desiccant. And that's where you're going to get that type of problem, without saying the word again, that's going to be a problem, because those pesticides destroy the microbial activity, which is really your natural pharmacy. That's what I'm saying. And so you've got the chemical conglomerates. I call it the kind of the military, medical, chemical, pharmaceutical conglomerate cartel, you know. And so, and it all intertwines with a lower level of consciousness. So what you want to do is have a higher level of consciousness. And what you do is like, oh, I don't resonate with this guy. But somewhere inside of you, you know that this spiritual teacher or this guy is resonating at a higher level than you, where you're at in your life. And you want to plug those in. Like, when we're done here with this, I'm going to plug us into some high vibration stuff on the rest of our way out to Poi Poo. So we can get brain entrainment with spiritual masters, like I made on the last video, where it's like, you know, I brainwash myself every day, hella hours every day, with dudes that had realizations and revelations at a higher level. So I've been doing the health thing, and I've found out that there is an unbelievable amount that you can do, because I went to the hospital with food poisoning from the festival that I went to, and everybody got poisoned, but my immune system was really low because I was going through a breakup, which is bad for the anxious attachment style, of which 25% of you are. So then if you are going through a divorce, if you're going through a breakup, your immune system gets lowered. If you don't like your job, if your teenage daughter is, you know, out partying and doing drugs, you know, these things can lower your immune system. So we've got to hit all the bases that we can, and that's innumerable. Like, it's not even enough to, I'm gonna do some programs that are like 2-3 hours long. I do 2-3 hour long classes on the Elite Video Club, and I touch on some more of this kind of stuff. But these little short YouTube videos, you can't possibly talk about all the different aspects of, I don't even like calling it regenerative medicine, but that would mean like, oh, the sunlight is a medicine. You know, get the sunlight on your testicles, get the sunlight on your prostate, get the sunlight on your baby buns too, because the only real sin is tan lines, okay? Meaning that we should be living our lives in paradise on earth, but you know, that's kind of a moot point in a sense, because yeah, not everyone can live in paradise like your boy DTM and go get the coconuts off the tree and stuff like that. But anyone can take advantage of the opportunity that they have to get this information and to use the tools that are available to us, of which the people that they want to talk about, maybe the raw food people or stuff, there's this idealism about like fruitarianism or whatever, which is great. Nobody loves fruit more than I do. I think it's the best distilled water and obviously God's food. But the fruit basically kind of sucks, especially if you're on the mainland and you're not picking it off of your own trees. So then you have to adjust. And we were also discussing how much we love green stuff. We're intuitively drawn to like kale and herbs. And so you want to awaken the system, but that's the problem, is the systems have been put to sleep from a very early age from these different implementations that take place during childhood, which diminishes the sensitivity of the system due to the overexposure of a mass inundation of synthetics. And I can't even mention it because I did that last time and I got it issue. I won't even say the key words, can you dig it? So I'm trying to do my thing here, and if I ever disappear, by the way, from doing these, check out my website, regenerateyourlife.org, and sign up for my email list. And make sure you check all the links down below and get on some of my other social media platforms, because if this one ever gets ixnay like the last channel, then you'll see me on Rumble, you'll see me on Instagram and Facebook. But this is my favorite platform, the YouTube, because that's where I have the most amount of traction. That's where I get to have a little bit of bread and butter by using the affiliates, where I've got the herbal products, which I use, herbs, enzymes, distilled water, juicing, massage therapy, sunlight therapy, music therapy, meditation therapy, love therapy, and cuddle therapy, of which I'm very, right now I'm kind of, what would be the word? Short-staffed. So in other words, I need a professional cuddler. So if anybody knows any kitty cats out there, just let me know. But all those things like cuddling your kitty cat, your dog, but another human being that you're intimately connected to is obviously the best. Those hormones are very healing, helpful: oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine. So in other words, healthy relationships at the various levels. Human beings, I don't think, love each other and touch each other enough. It's all become overly sexualized, but the monkeys, they kind of did that too. They would pick the bugs off each other, which is good for the nervous system. And then that would be good for the nerves, which would be good for the immune system, good for the bonding, good for the chemistry. But then, of course, the monkeys would also do it with each other too, especially if they're the bonobos, then it would be kind of weird. So it's like LGBTQ bonobo world, but the chimpanzees less so. They're a little bit more like man and woman. But the bonobos, they're a little bit more freaks, just two different sides of the river. And then millions of years of separate evolution, and the bonobos are like, hey, we'll solve all of our problems with sex, which I think, it's not the greatest idea, because the human beings, I did a consult last night, an emergency consult last night with a friend of mine, and the relationships can be the best thing, but they can also be the worst thing. So you have to be very on point. The most important relationship is with yourself. And then the rest of it, if there is any health problems, the main thing is the removal of the obstructions. Those are the physical obstructions. And obviously, let's go down the track. That's going to be dry fasting. Don't do it, kids. I'm just saying that at the top of the level, when you're very experienced, some people will poo-poo that, but believe me, I've done it before. I have a lot of friends. I talk. Nobody goes to the nth degree, but I know of people that have gone 21 days on the dry fasting. But it's not recommended until you're way up and above and beyond. So don't say you heard it from Dan McDonald. The next thing down is the water fasting. And that's where you do like 3 days, and then you work your way up to 5 days, and then you work your way up to 7, and then after you've done 3, 4, 5, 7 and 10-day water fasts, then you can start to okay, he's a little more shy, but you can then you're kind of got it. You're like, oh, don't stand up too fast, right? You get dizzy. And so you figure it out, like, okay, wow, there's going to be days where I'm hella weak. I'm not going to go to the office. I can't go pick up the kids. So you figure out what fasting is, and then you make your schedule around that when, everybody's gone, or you've got some time where you can just lay there like a bump on a log and rest. And like 3 days of resting would be like a 7-day water fast moving around. So preserving the vital force, which is another good point. Where is your energy leaking? Where's your energy leaking? Are you leaking it out to all these losers? Here's Waimea Canyon. If you decide to go, this is a great place. I wish we had time to do it, but we're not going to be able to do both. But you go up Waimea Canyon, and you got some epic hiking up there, just off out into the, and then you see the ocean and everything.
Nice.
Yeah. So energy. And that's what's helping me now more than anything, is becoming super aware. I've been through this whole 2023 was the year of awakening for me. Like, okay, you're kind of a lazy spiritual person, and I'm still working on my health, because I lived a really hard life, and I want to just do the best I can to be a good example of regenerative medicine, of which I'm the first to admit there's other people out there that are way more better than me. But I guess my claim to fame is like, hey, I'm a heroin junkie, a meth addict, a pothead, 2 packs a day, can drink a bottle of tequila and drive down the street with one eye closed, and still play a full music set at night while rolling on ecstasy. And then I take one hit and the whole thing starts melting, and the cop is right there, and I'm like, yes, officer, your face is melting. The LSD is at home. Sorry, do you want to arrest me? He's like, no, you just told me the truth. Like, I don't have anything on me. So I had all that, and I was abused too. My mommy didn't love me, but no, everybody did the best they could. I love my parents. They're good people. There's a lot of good things that I got from them. This general sense of goodness, but then a lot of problems. And then I wanted to learn how to get out of those problems. So that's the life regeneration of all your subconscious. That's where a lot of this is going to go. That's regenerative medicine next level 10.0, which is, I have to deal with my subconscious, unprocessed and unresolved emotional sticking points, where, those people, they'll throw your ass in the mental institution and get you on drugs because they're the one that's crazy, because they're like, you're going outside the parameter of society, eat this bread, here's a TV dinner, take your medication, go get your little you-know-whats, and do what you're told. And you're like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want the white bread. I don't want the canned food. I don't want the processed foods. I don't want the Costco cake for the birthday. I don't want the chili. Everybody else is eating the chili, and they're eating the Costco cake. And then the kids start punching each other in the face and poking each other's eyeballs out. And you're like, I didn't eat the Costco cake. But everybody else ate the Costco cake. So now the parents are fighting and the kids are fighting. Everybody's gone haywire because of all the chemicals, of all the sugar, of all the glyphosate. So everything is fine, everything's going well. The birthday comes, they sing, they cut the cake, everybody eats the cake, and within 10 or 15 minutes, the whole thing turns into an absolute, excuse my language, shit show. And you watch this, and then you call it the Costco cake syndrome, which is what we're dealing with in our society is, hey, what kind of food did you eat? Well, it was highly processed with toxic seed oils that were extracted with toxic solvents that were oxidized, that were grown in pesticides. Then every vestige of everything left over, and then they added in a bunch of sugar, a bunch of colorants, a bunch of preservatives. Then I microwaved it in plastics just because I wouldn't want to go without my BPA and shrink up my testicles. So all in one meal, you lost your mind. Your heart is now clogged up more than it was. Your gastrointestinal tract is destroyed by the pesticides and the fried seed oils, and now your testicles are also shrinking up at the same time. And what is that? That's the processed food that everybody eats, and then you get all these anaerobic conditions where the circulation is screwed up and the blockages in the system inhibiting the lymphatic flow, which you want to be a nice viscous fluid. You want a little bit of mucus because there's toxins everywhere. You don't want to be too healthy. That's my advice. Don't get too healthy, because I've done that before too. You know what I mean? Like, you'll be too porous and you'll be too sensitive. So you want to do a little bit of fun. So you want to be like the 80-20 rule. I don't do that really. I'm not like 80% there and then 20% sugar. I'm like a no sugar guy, 100% no soda guy, no flour. I'm 100% on a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, like, I don't want to eat too clean. Like, if you can go to the mountain or you can go to the jungle and drink coconuts for 40 days or do a 90-day juice cleanse or a 40-day or a 21-day water fast, then come back out and, get stabilized and balanced within your environment. That's why you can't be a social media influencer and be like, everyone has to have the exact same program. And that's why all the experiences that I've had are good. I'm a little crazy, so I never jumped on any one bandwagon. I was heavy on the Dr. Morse thing, but after a while I got out of balance with that. And so over the years I've learned, amino acids are good. Herbs are good. Enzyme therapy is good. Fats are good. Exercise is good, but not too much. So then you start to get this overall generalized, and I'm just flowing here. I'm letting the divine just flow through me and then let these things come through. My intention was just to honor Toby Keith, who I said I didn't know very well, but just I'm very aware that these issues are proliferating out of control. And I wanted to just say, in case anyone wants to hear it, that there are regenerative medicines and regenerative protocols. There's regenerative lifestyle choices, and it does stem from self-love, self-care, It comes from a divine place within. Do you want to be around and see your grandkids go to high school or maybe even college? Or do you want to go early, which is no big deal. It's like, I don't really cling to life either, but I think while you're here, you should be a steward of your body and a steward of what you can do to the best of your ability to honor the Creator, to honor creation, to honor intelligence, to honor the potential that you have within yourself, to cultivate and nurture the best that you can be without trying to live up to anyone else's standards. But what is it that you feel like you want to do? I don't think everyone should be a raw foodist. I think everyone could benefit from those concepts, but I know what it takes to do that. You're kind of isolated, but I don't really care because I was always kind of isolated, and then I have a tight-knit group and most of them are kind of raw foodies too, but nobody's like perfect, nobody's like militant, and then everybody realizes that you lax off a little, and then you tighten up a little, and then it depends on where you're at. So I'm giving everyone permission to do that if they want to, because I've had tight where I'm laser tight, and I mean you could stick up a coal up my butthole and like get a diamond out, you know. And then there's other times where I'm a little more relaxed, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna flow, I'm traveling or whatever, I'm not gonna try to be so perfect, whatever I gotta do to kind of get through this. Then when I get home, you know, blast some enzymes, some probiotics, take a colonic, get some body work, do a little fasting, hit the juices, and get back, you know. I mean, none of us are gonna live forever, and you wanna be fluid with all this, because the fluidity is the key, really, to it all in the end. You know, there are some ramifications for these tools that we will use. Everyone loves their protocol the best. I'm more of one to say, learn as much as you can about as many protocols as you can from as many healers as you can, ones that you trust, ones that resonate with you, and then you know, practice their stuff, see what works, because people will be like, no juice fasting, it's bad for you. And then other people will be like, that 40-day juice fast I did 5 years ago was the best thing that ever happened to me. So that guy can say what he wants because he's got some kind of philosophical concept, but ask him, hey, have you ever done a 40-day water fast? And he'll say, no, I don't believe in that. We'll be like, well, then you should try it, because you'll be pinging on all 8 cylinders, you know what I mean? Your colon will be clear, your mind will be clear, especially if you're using organic produce and you're really good at sourcing the cleanest, best, highest vibrational living and distilled water, and you're getting mineral rich and even microbially rich, because I like to have a little bit of dirt in my juices. I know that sounds crazy, but there's actually a lot of different well, that's another good point in this regenerative you know, medicine diatribe, you know, here, verbal diarrhea coming from a deep place of all this experience. But it's the dirt on the feet, in the nose, in the microbes, but in the soil. This soil over here, where the farmer over here is tilling with a giant tractor, but within that soil are different molecules that are utilized by the microorganisms to connect you to earth, to an earth consciousness, but also the dirt and the mycelium, which is the probiotics, but the microbial connection between these communication networks that open up through these microscopic soil molecules. That's why the Shilajit, which the other people will be like, oh, the Shilajit and all this stuff is lame, right? And you're like, no, it's not, because we used to eat a lot of dirt. The farmers would eat the potatoes and the cabbage and the beets, and there was no way, the rutabagas, you were going to get all the dirt off there. And within that dirt were those soil microbes, and now we've got them in the form of the Shilajit or the humic and fulvic acids. And then if you're very fortunate, you've got farmers around you that are using that are cultivating good soil, and they're bringing in organic amendments, and then you've got that great you know, the microbes in the soil, the mycelium, creating these. I mean, the whole thing is all connected. And then you figure out, oh my God, this network of communication literally wraps around the earth. Now on the land, of course, but all the land and all the trees and all the root systems are connected by these networks. So the whole thing, every time you're out in nature, there's this network of communication by the root system, the mycelium, or these long strands of extended mushrooms, for lack of a better way, that connect and create these communication networks. And then basically what I'm saying is eat dirt, damn it. Don't go out into the garden and eat spoonfuls of dirt, but just get exposed to small amounts of these microscopic communication molecules that should be on the natural food. So what happens when you cook them? What happens when you rinse everything so well, sterilize everything, ultra process everything? That's why I'm saying the ultra processed food is what's causing a huge part of these networks to shut down. So this holistic approach is the only way, focusing on what can I do to regenerate the physical organism at the level of the protoplasm. But don't stop there. What can you do to purify your heart, cultivate, nurture love, benevolence, forgiveness for yourself and others? This is huge. The heart opens up. You're like, oh, I don't hate myself anymore because I processed as much of that stuff as I needed to. Then the mind, what are you exposing your mind to? I mean, I expose my mind to enough trash with the politics and stuff, but I'm waiting either for the end of the world or something good to happen, But I also spend a vast majority of my time brainwashing myself with super positive stuff. I'm gonna have to stop the video now because this thing is gonna shake, because we're about to hit a dirt road. We're out in Pullaholi. So physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, with singing, kirtan, meditation, karma yoga, helping and loving and serving other people. We're going to continue on before we hit the Pullaholi, because I want to keep going here. I want to make sure that I wrap this up real nicely with the physical cleansing, which is the juicing, the fasting, the raw foods, the whole foods, whatever, steamed vegetables, or your favorite organic grains, or your potatoes, or whatever. But just make sure that you're getting wholesome, unsprayed, natural foods from as close to your local environment as possible. I'm a huge advocate of eating as much of your food local, fresh, organic, alive. I think sprouts are amazing. Juicing is amazing. Whole foods are amazing. Salads, smoothies. Obviously, I think the best is like the mono meals. Things like bananas are an amazing food, even though they get a bad rap because they're ultra hybridized and stuff, but those are clean, pure foods. Avocados are amazing. Oranges, citrus, melons, berries that are unsprayed, even the herbs like celery and the lettuces that aren't sprayed. And I'm not a huge fan of the grains and things like that, but sometimes I will eat like soaked sprouted mung beans. I think are really good. They've got a lot of protein, but just the physical organism. So eat real food. I know people are struggling. I'm sending out a lot of love and understanding. Believe me, I'm supposed to be the guy, and I've done nothing but struggle with this thing. But that being said, if you took it under a microscope and you're like, Dan, I hate you, you're like, you ate too many avocados or whatever, or you're addicted to salt. It's like, shut up. So I get it, but I'm just like going for those higher levels of like as high as I can get without enjoying my life, but also trying to keep on with the regeneration, because I'm into it for myself, by myself, not for anyone else, but for myself. I do it for myself, because what else am I going to do while I'm stuck here on planet Earth? You're going to see the mangoes probably aren't in season, but I have these trees up here. They're just like thousands and thousands and thousands of mangoes. So physical regeneration with the food, emotional regeneration with love, forgiveness, service, generosity. Mental, watch what you think, watch what you say, watch what you do, learning to meditate and becoming more aware of that. And then kirtan, spiritual teachings, music, prayer, meditation for the cleansing of the spirituality. The fasting burns the karma. The water fasting burns the karma. Dry fasting burns it the most. Juice fasting, I'm down the line. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. We're gonna turn around and go to Pullahale, which is a really cool place. And yeah, the flowers are on the trees, but there's no mangoes. So I'm gonna turn around, and I thank you all very much. 45 minutes is awesome. I hope you got something out of this video. Share it with your friends and family. Leave me a comment, give it a thumbs up. Go check all my social media down below and any of those other networks you're on. Join me up over there on Rumble and Telegram and Instagram and all that stuff, just in case we lose contact here on the YouTube. Can you dig it? Let's not put that out there. We're gonna be safe. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna keep this channel. It's gonna keep growing. I appreciate it. It's my bread and butter here on the YouTube. I'm grateful for all your love and your friendship over the years and your support here through the whole journey of the YouTube and the social media trip, of which I'm like the last guy on earth. I should be doing it, but it's working and it works, and here we are. Hope you enjoyed the video. God bless you, and I will see you on the next video. Alrighty? And we are out. Let's get that AC kicking. Peace.